November 3rd, 1944. 6:47 in the morning. Private First Class Michael Donovan crouched in the ruins of what used to be a bakery in Metz, France, watching through a crack in the shattered brick wall as German positions slowly emerged from the thick morning fog like ghosts materializing from nothing. He was 22 years old, 6 months in continuous combat, 14 confirmed kills, 0 times, not once, not ever, had he spotted an enemy sniper before that German sniper shot at him first. And that statistic was about to get him killed. The Germans had fortified Metz with over 200 defensive positions, machine gun nests, artillery emplacements, sniper hides built into rubble that all looked exactly the same. The Fifth Infantry Division had been trying to take this city for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of grinding urban combat where every street corner could hide death, where every window might contain a rifleman, where every pile of debris could conceal a German soldier waiting to pull a trigger. Donovan's job was counter-sniper work. Find German snipers, eliminate them before they killed American infantrymen advancing through the streets. Simple mission in theory, brutal and usually fatal in practice. The problem wasn't his rifle. The M1903 Springfield with an 8x Unertl scope was accurate to 800 yards. Under perfect conditions, Donovan could put a round through a German helmet at that range. The rifle was perfect. The optics were perfect. The ammunition was perfect. The problem wasn't his training either. Donovan had graduated at the top of his sniper class at Fort Benning. He understood ballistics, wind reading, range estimation, camouflage, fieldcraft, everything the Army could teach about precision shooting. He knew his job. He was good at his job. The problem was that German snipers saw him first, every single time, without exception. German snipers used a tactical technique called the double position. They would set up 2 complete shooting positions 30 to 50 yards apart, fire from the first position, then immediately relocate to the second position before American counter-snipers could triangulate the shot. By the time Donovan aimed at muzzle flash from the first position, the German was already settled into the second position, already aiming, already squeezing the trigger. The mathematics were simple and absolutely deadly. Donovan needed 12 to 15 seconds to acquire a target through his scope, calculate distance, adjust for wind drift, compensate for bullet drop, and fire accurately. German snipers needed exactly the same amount of time, but they were already aiming when Donovan was still searching. They had a 12-second head start. They shot first, always. By early November 1944, the Fifth Infantry Division had lost 23 American snipers in Metz. 23 men who were supposed to be the best marksmen in their battalions. 23 soldiers selected for exceptional eyesight, steady hands, patience under pressure, and the ability to kill at distances where most infantrymen couldn't even see the enemy. 23 funerals for men killed the exact same way, shot while searching for targets they never actually saw. Donovan's first partner was Corporal James Bradley, October 18, 1944. Farm kid from Nebraska who could hit a running rabbit at 200 yards using iron sights. Before the war, Bradley had hunted his entire life, provided meat for his family through the Depression, knew how to read terrain and predict animal movement. The Army had recognized that natural talent and trained him as a sniper. They had worked together for 3 weeks. Bradley had 9 confirmed kills. Good sniper, cautious, methodical. Donovan never even saw where the German sniper was hiding. Never saw muzzle flash. Never heard the shot until after Bradley was already dead. The enemy sniper had spotted them, calculated the shot, aimed carefully, and fired, all before either American even knew they were being hunted. Donovan's second partner was Private First Class Robert Chen, October 29th. Chen was from San Francisco. Sharp eyes that could spot movement at incredible distances. Steady hands that never shook even under pressure. 12 confirmed kills in 6 weeks of combat. He was one of the best snipers in the battalion. They had been working together for 8 days. Chen was watching a German trench line through his scope, searching for targets, when the shot came. Hit him in the chest, punctured his right lung. Chen lived for 40 minutes, slowly drowning in his own blood while medics desperately tried to save him. He died gasping for air, blood bubbling from his mouth, eyes wide with the knowledge that he was dying, and couldn't do anything to stop it. The German sniper had been concealed in rubble 350 yards away, in a position Donovan and Chen had already cleared the previous day. The German must have moved in during the night, set up in ruins they thought were safe, and waited for American snipers to expose themselves. Donovan found the sniper position after Chen died, found the spent cartridge casings, found the improvised shooting rest, found the spot where the German had lain in wait. But the German sniper was long gone, already relocated to a different position, already hunting for his next target. The pattern never changed. American sniper sets up position. American sniper searches for targets through his scope. German sniper, who has already been watching, fires first. American sniper dies. It happened over and over with mechanical predictability. Command kept sending the same tactical orders. Stay mobile. Change positions frequently after each shot. Use proper concealment. Maintain noise discipline. Follow doctrine. But the orders didn't address the fundamental problem. By the time an American sniper found a potential target and began the aiming process, German snipers had already been watching that American position for minutes. They had already calculated the shot. They had already compensated for wind and distance. They were already pulling the trigger. Donovan spent 3 days studying exactly how these engagements developed. He would watch German positions through his scope, searching methodically for any sign of movement, any indication of a sniper, muzzle flash, scope glint, unnatural shadows, anything that might give away an enemy position. But while he was searching forward through his scope, concentrated on finding targets in his narrow field of view, he had absolutely no awareness of what was happening behind him. Couldn't see if German snipers were watching him from different buildings. Couldn't detect threats approaching from flanking angles. Couldn't see the danger that wasn't directly in front of his scope. The scope was the fundamental problem. When you looked through an 8-power magnification scope, your field of view shrank to approximately 8 degrees. You could see far, 800 yards with crystal clarity, but you couldn't see wide. It was exactly like looking through a toilet paper tube. Everything outside that narrow cone of vision was completely invisible. German snipers exploited this limitation ruthlessly and with brutal efficiency. They didn't shoot from the positions Americans were actively watching through their scopes. They shot from flanking angles, from buildings Americans had already cleared and weren't watching anymore, from positions outside the narrow 8-degree cone of American scope vision. By the time an American sniper realized danger was coming from a different direction and turned to search a new sector, German snipers were already aiming, already firing, already killing. After Chen died, Donovan spent 3 nights lying awake in his sleeping bag thinking about the problem. How do you see threats you're not actively looking at? How do you watch behind you while scanning forward? How do you maintain situational awareness when your vision is restricted to an 8-degree tunnel? How do you survive when the enemy always spots you first? The solution came from his shaving kit, a simple mirror. 4 inches by 6 inches. Standard military issue. Donovan had been using it every morning to shave for 6 months without ever really thinking about it. He realized he could mount that mirror to his rifle scope to give himself peripheral vision while looking through the scope. Mount it at an angle where he could see behind him with just a quick glance, without moving his head, without shifting his position, without giving away that he had spotted a threat. It was completely insane, absolutely unauthorized. Modifying sniper equipment without official approval could get him court-martialed. The Army had strict regulations about altering precision weapons. Unauthorized modifications were a serious offense, punishable by dishonorable discharge at minimum, military prison at maximum. But Bradley was dead. Chen was dead. 23 American snipers were dead in Metz, and Donovan didn't want to become number 24. If this story is already pulling you in, hit that like button right now, and subscribe, because what happens next changed how American snipers fought for the rest of World War II and beyond. These stories matter. The men who lived them and died for them deserve to be remembered. Donovan worked alone on the night of November 2nd, 1944. The building his unit occupied had been a hotel before the war. 3 stories, 40 rooms, probably elegant once. Now it was rubble. Shattered walls, collapsed ceilings, broken glass everywhere, crunching under boots. The smell of smoke and cordite hung permanently in the cold air, mixed with the stench of death that permeated every building in Metz. He found a quiet corner on the 3rd floor where nobody would interrupt him or ask questions about what he was doing. He pulled his Springfield rifle from its canvas case, set it carefully on a makeshift table constructed from broken furniture and debris. The November night was bitter cold. He could see his breath in the dim light of his military-issue flashlight, could feel his fingers starting to go numb. From his pack, Donovan pulled the mirror from his shaving kit. 4 inches by 6 inches. Metal frame. Slightly scratched from 6 months of field use, but still reflective enough to see clearly. Also in his pack, electrical tape salvaged from signal communication wire, a combat knife, wire cutters. Not exactly precision machining tools, but they would have to work. Field modifications required field solutions. The rifle was an M1903 Springfield with an 8x Unertl scope mounted on top. The scope sat about 3 inches above the barrel, held in place by steel mounting rings that could be adjusted for windage and elevation. Donovan needed to mount the mirror where he could see it while looking through the scope, but without interfering with the rifle's operation, without blocking his sight picture, without throwing off the weapon's balance. He tested different positions, held the mirror in various spots around the scope, simulating how he would actually look through the optic in a combat situation. Too high, and he couldn't see the mirror reflection without lifting his eye completely away from the scope, defeating the entire purpose. Too low, and the mirror blocked his forward view. Too far forward, and the angle was completely wrong, showing him nothing useful. After 20 minutes of testing different positions and angles, he found the perfect mounting location. Left side of the scope, angled at 45 degrees, positioned about 8 inches forward of where his eye would be when aiming. From that position, when he looked through the scope at a distant target, he could see the mirror in his peripheral vision. Just a quick glance to the left, no head movement required, and he could see what was behind him and to his flanks. His hands were shaking as he started the installation. Not from the cold, though it was freezing, from knowing with absolute certainty that this modification violated every regulation in the sniper manual. Unauthorized modifications to precision equipment, altering military property without approval, tampering with weapon systems. Minimum punishment was immediate reassignment to a regular infantry unit. Maximum punishment was dishonorable discharge and possible imprisonment. His entire military career balanced on whether this desperate modification worked. But Chen's face kept appearing in his mind every time he hesitated. Chen gasping for air that wouldn't come, blood bubbling from his chest, dying slowly over 40 minutes while Donovan pressed on the sucking chest wound and screamed for a medic who arrived too late to do anything except confirm death. Chen had been watching forward through his scope when the German shot him from a flanking position. If Chen had been able to see that angle, he might still be alive. Donovan cut the electrical tape into strips, wrapped them around the mirror frame to create cushioning and grip, then wrapped more tape around the scope tube where the mirror would attach. The tape provided padding to prevent metal-on-metal contact and created friction to hold the mirror in place. The mirror needed to stay secure during recoil. The Springfield kicked hard, especially with full-power military ammunition. The mirror needed to maintain its exact angle, needed to not shift or rattle, needed to be absolutely solid. The installation took 40 minutes of careful work. His fingers kept slipping on the tape in the cold. The mirror kept sliding before the tape set properly. Twice it fell off completely and clattered against the floor, and he had to start over from the beginning. Each time it fell, his heart pounded. If anyone heard the noise, if an officer came to investigate what he was doing, he would face immediate charges. Finally, the mirror held solid. He tested it carefully, looked through the scope like he was aiming at a distant target, glanced left without moving his head. The mirror showed the view behind him perfectly. The doorway, the hallway, the entire rear arc of vision. It worked exactly as he had hoped. Donovan wrapped the tape around the mirror frame 3 more times, securing it as tightly as possible. Tested the rifle's balance. The mirror added maybe 4 ounces, negligible weight that wouldn't affect his shooting. Checked the scope alignment carefully, still perfectly zeroed. The mirror didn't interfere with the rifle's accuracy at all. The modification looked crude. Obviously not factory equipment. Any officer who closely inspected the rifle would see it immediately and demand to know what unauthorized modification had been made. But Donovan didn't plan on letting officers inspect his rifle. He would keep it in its case, take it out only for combat missions. Hope nobody with authority noticed. He cleaned up the tape scraps, put away his tools, checked his watch. It was 12:45 in the morning. In 6 hours, he would be moving to a new forward position in the destroyed industrial district on the eastern edge of Metz. German snipers controlled that entire sector. 3 American snipers had died there in the past week alone. Tomorrow morning, Donovan would test whether a simple shaving mirror taped to a rifle scope could actually change his odds of survival. Whether this desperate field modification could solve a problem that was systematically killing the best marksmen in the American Army. At 6:47 on the morning of November 3rd, Donovan moved into his new position in the destroyed bakery. The building had taken direct artillery fire during the initial American assault on Metz. Most of the south wall was completely gone, exposing the entire interior to the street and to German observation. The Germans held a factory complex 400 yards away across open ground. Perfect sniper terrain, clear fields of fire, multiple positions, excellent concealment in rubble. Donovan's new partner was Private Sam Martinez. Martinez was 19 years old from Texas, had been a sniper for exactly 3 weeks. 0 confirmed kills yet, but good instincts and steady nerves. He didn't panic under fire. That was rare in soldiers so young and inexperienced. Martinez had noticed the mirror attached to Donovan's rifle that morning during equipment check. He asked what it was for. Donovan told him one word: survival. Martinez didn't ask any more questions. Some things in combat didn't need detailed explanations. They set up in a corner room on the 2nd floor of the bakery. The building's old brick oven, built to withstand high heat, provided solid cover from small arms fire. A narrow crack in the wall gave them a restricted view of the German factory positions, without exposing their silhouettes. Donovan used broken furniture to create a stable shooting rest that wouldn't shift during recoil. Martinez positioned himself to cover the room's entrance, watching for German infantry who might try to flank their position. He carried an M1 Garand, 8 rounds of 30-06 ammunition, semi-automatic, reliable. The morning fog was slowly lifting as thermal effects from the sun created air currents. Donovan could see the factory complex gradually emerging from the gray mist. Broken windows, collapsed sections, piles of rubble that could hide a dozen snipers. Somewhere in that wreckage, German snipers were waiting, watching, searching for targets. Donovan settled behind his Springfield, pressed his eye to the rubber scope cup. The 8-power magnification brought the factory into sharp focus. He started scanning methodically left to right, slow and careful, looking for any indication of enemy presence. Movement, unnatural shadows, scope glint, anything that might reveal a sniper position. His field of view through the scope was narrow. At 400 yards, he could see approximately 50 feet of horizontal space. Everything outside that narrow cone was completely invisible. That 50-foot window of vision was what had killed Bradley and Chen. They had been looking through their scopes, focused intensely on one specific sector, completely blind to everything else. And German snipers had killed them from angles they weren't watching. But now Donovan had the mirror. While scanning forward through the scope, he could see the mirror mounted on the left side in his peripheral vision. The mirror showed the street behind him, the ruined buildings across the way, his flank approaches. It wasn't perfect 360-degree coverage, but it was infinitely better than being completely blind to his rear arc. At 7:23, Donovan spotted movement in the factory complex. 3rd floor, damaged window with most of the glass blown out. Something dark moved behind the frame. Could be a sniper, could be debris shifting in wind, could be a bird. He watched patiently. held his aim rock steady on that window, controlled his breathing, waited. The movement came again 30 seconds later. Definitely human this time. A German soldier moving carefully and slowly into position. Probably a sniper setting up a hide. The German was being cautious, which meant he was experienced, which meant he was dangerous. Donovan calculated the shot parameters in his head, 410 yards. Wind was calm, maybe 2 miles per hour from left to right. Negligible drift. Easy shot. Textbook engagement. He was about to squeeze the trigger when he saw something in the mirror. Just a flicker of movement in the reflection. Behind him. Across the street. A building they had already cleared the previous night. Donovan kept his eye pressed to the scope but shifted his attention to the mirror. Watched the reflection carefully. Third-floor window of the building behind their position. Something moved again. A German sniper. Donovan could see the rifle barrel in the mirror's reflection. Could see the distinctive shape of a scope. Could see the German sniper was aiming directly at Donovan's current position. The German had probably been watching them for several minutes, waiting for the perfect shot, preparing to kill another American sniper. This was exactly how Bradley died. Focused on a target ahead, killed by a sniper from a flanking angle he never saw. This was exactly how Chen died, watching forward, shot from the side. But Donovan saw the threat. The mirror showed him danger his scope couldn't reveal. He didn't move his head, didn't turn, didn't give any indication he had spotted the German sniper. Just kept his rifle aimed at the factory while whispering urgently to Martinez. German sniper, building behind us, 3rd floor, left window. He's aiming at us right now, right now. Martinez moved slowly and smoothly. No sudden movements. Pulled his M1 Garand into shooting position. Aimed carefully toward the building behind them. Found the 3rd floor window. Saw the German sniper clearly now. Saw the man's head and shoulders silhouetted against the interior darkness. Saw the rifle. Saw the scope. Martinez whispered back. I see him. I've got him. Donovan said quietly. On my count, I'll take the one in the factory. You take the one behind us. 3, 2, 1. Donovan fired. The Springfield cracked loud in the confined space. 410 yards. The German in the factory jerked backward violently, hit center mass in the chest. He fell out of view behind the window frame. Dead or dying. Martinez fired simultaneously. The Garand's .30-06 round punched through the window frame behind them with massive kinetic energy. The German sniper slumped forward against the window ledge, dead instantly. Brain destroyed. 2 shots, 2 kills. 5 seconds total from decision to execution. Donovan worked the Springfield's bolts smoothly, ejected the spent brass casing, loaded another round from the internal magazine, scanned through the scope again, searching for additional targets. The mirror showed no more threats behind him. They were clear, for now. Martinez was breathing hard, adrenaline flooding his system from his first combat kill. He said with wonder in his voice, That German was about to shoot you. He had you dead to rights. How did you see him? See? How did you possibly know he was there? Donovan showed Martinez the mirror, explained how it worked, how it gave peripheral vision while looking through the scope, how it revealed flanking threats. Martinez stared at the mirror for a long moment, processing what it meant. Then he said something Donovan hadn't expected. You need to put that on every single sniper rifle in this entire battalion. Right now. The engagement that morning lasted 4 hours of sustained combat. Donovan's 2-man team eliminated 6 German snipers. Donovan got 4 confirmed kills. Martinez got 2. Every single kill followed the exact same tactical pattern. Donovan would spot a potential target through his scope, but before taking the shot, he would check the mirror first. 3 separate times during that 4-hour engagement, the mirror revealed German snipers attempting to flank them from positions Donovan wasn't actively watching through his scope. Each time, Martinez engaged the flanking threat, while Donovan simultaneously took the forward target. The coordination worked flawlessly. The mirror gave them awareness German snipers couldn't match. German snipers couldn't ambush them because Donovan could see them coming from any angle. By afternoon, word had spread through the sniper teams positioned throughout Metz. Donovan's team had eliminated 6 Germans without taking any casualties. Other American sniper teams wanted to know how. How had they survived when everyone else was dying? Martinez told them about the mirror, about how Donovan had mounted a shaving mirror to his scope, about how it provided rear and flank vision, about how it had saved both their lives multiple times already. By evening, 3 more snipers wanted the modification installed on their rifles immediately. Donovan installed the first mirror on Sergeant Frank Wilson's rifle that night. Wilson was 28 years old, from Montana, a professional hunting guide before the war. He could track elk through mountain terrain, could judge distance by eye, could shoot accurately in any weather condition. He had lost 2 sniper partners in 3 weeks, both killed by flanking shots they never saw coming, both dead before they could even react. Wilson watched Donovan work carefully, asked technical questions about the mirror angle, the positioning, the attachment method, the field of view it provided. When Donovan finished the installation, Wilson tested it immediately, looked through the scope, glanced at the mirror, said it was absolutely perfect, said he should have thought of this modification himself months ago. Wilson asked if Donovan wanted payment for the modification, cigarettes, liquor, whatever he wanted. Donovan said no. "Just don't get killed. That's payment enough. That's all I want." The next morning, Wilson's team engaged German snipers near the cathedral in central Metz. Wilson spotted 2 Germans using the mirror, saw them moving into flanking positions before they could set up and aim, eliminated both threats before they could fire a single shot. Wilson came back that afternoon raving about the modification, told every sniper he encountered, said the mirror had saved his life, said every sniper in the division needed this. By November 8th, 5 days after the first installation, Donovan had personally installed mirrors on 9 different sniper rifles. The modification spread organically from sniper to sniper, team to team, position to position. Some snipers made their own versions using whatever reflective material they could scavenge from the ruins of Metz. Broken glass from car windows, polished metal from destroyed vehicles, pieces of chrome trim, even fragments of mirror from destroyed homes. The mirrors didn't need to be perfect optical quality. They just needed to reflect images clearly enough to detect movement and threats. Private First Class Danny Sullivan was the 3rd sniper to receive the modification. Sullivan was from Boston, 23 years old, had been in combat for 8 months. He was known throughout the battalion as one of the most cautious snipers, never took unnecessary risks, always had an escape route planned, survived by being careful rather than brave. But Sullivan had a problem that caution couldn't solve. He had lost 3 partners in 7 weeks. 3 different men, 3 separate engagements, all killed by German snipers who spotted them first. Sullivan was starting to believe he was cursed, that anyone who partnered with him would die. Donovan installed the mirror on Sullivan's rifle on November 6th. Took 40 minutes in a destroyed apartment building while artillery fire echoed in the distance. Sullivan watched the installation with intense focus, asked detailed questions about the angle, about how to use it effectively in combat. The next morning, Sullivan's team moved into position near the railroad yards on the northern edge of Metz. The area was a nightmare of twisted metal, destroyed train cars, collapsed buildings. German snipers loved it. Unlimited firing positions, natural concealment everywhere, clear fields of fire across open ground. Sullivan and his new partner, Corporal James McKinley, set up in a water tower that still had 3 walls standing. Sullivan was scanning the railroad yards through his scope when he checked the mirror out of habit. Movement behind him, 250 yards away. A German sniper moving between destroyed train cars, trying to get into position for a flanking shot. Sullivan had never spotted a German sniper before that German spotted him. Never, not once in 8 months of combat, but the mirror showed him the threat before the German was even in position to aim. Sullivan didn't take the shot himself. Too difficult an angle from his current position. Instead, he directed McKinley onto the target, gave him the exact range, the wind call, the position details. McKinley made the shot. 1 round. The German sniper dropped behind the train cars and didn't move again. Sullivan came back that evening with a different look on his face. For the first time in weeks, he didn't look haunted, didn't look like death was following him. He told everyone who would listen about the mirror, about how it had saved his life, about how he had finally seen the enemy before the enemy saw him. That night, 2 more snipers asked Donovan for the modification. Staff Sergeant Richard Coleman was one of the oldest snipers in the battalion at 34. Before the war, he had been a competitive target shooter, won state championships in Ohio, competed nationally, understood precision shooting at a technical level most soldiers never achieved. He had 17 confirmed kills in Metz alone, the highest count in the entire division. But Coleman had a different problem than most snipers. He wasn't worried about being shot. He was worried about his spotters being shot. Snipers worked in 2-man teams, 1 shooter, 1 spotter. The spotter watched through binoculars, called corrections, covered security while the sniper focused through the scope. Good spotters were harder to find than good shooters. Coleman had been through 4 spotters in 6 weeks. All 4 had been killed by German counter-snipers, while Coleman was looking through his scope. The last one, Private Tommy Garcia, had been 19 years old. He died while Coleman was taking a shot at a German position 800 yards away. Garcia was watching their flank when a German round hit him in the neck, bled out in 90 seconds while Coleman tried desperately to stop the bleeding with his hands. Coleman blamed himself. He was the senior man. He was supposed to keep his spotter safe, but how could he keep someone safe when he was looking through a scope with an 8-degree field of view? Donovan installed the mirror on Coleman's rifle on November 9th. Coleman studied it carefully, testing different angles, checking sight lines, making sure it didn't interfere with his shooting. Then he asked Donovan a question that revealed how much thought he had put into the problem. "Can you install one at a different angle? One that shows the area my spotter would normally watch?" Donovan realized immediately what Coleman was suggesting. 2 mirrors, one showing the rear arc that Donovan's original design covered, a second mirror angled to show the flanking area the spotter normally covered. If Coleman could see both his rear and his spotter's assigned sector, he could warn his spotter about threats before they developed. They worked on it for 2 hours, testing positions, checking angles, mounting the second mirror on the right side of the scope to balance the weight. When they finished, Coleman Springfield had 2 mirrors, giving him nearly 180 degrees of peripheral awareness while looking through his scope. The next day, Coleman's team engaged German positions near the cathedral. Coleman was tracking a German machine gun crew through his scope when his right side mirror showed movement. A German sniper, 300 yards away, aiming directly at Coleman's spotter position. Coleman immediately warned his spotter, Corporal Fred Jackson. Jackson shifted position just as the German fired. The round missed by inches, hit the rubble where Jackson had been seconds before. Jackson counterattacked immediately with his M1 Garand. 5 rapid shots. The German sniper took at least 2 hits and went down. Coleman and Jackson survived an engagement that would have killed them both without the mirrors. Word about Coleman's dual mirror setup spread even faster than the original modification. Within 3 days, 5 more snipers had requested dual mirror installations. Donovan was working on mirror modifications for 3 hours every evening, teaching other snipers how to do the installations themselves, creating an informal training program in unauthorized equipment modification. The battalion started developing tactics specifically designed around the mirror's capabilities. Sniper teams would position themselves in locations with known German flanking routes. The mirrors would detect Germans moving into those flanking positions. American snipers would eliminate them before they could set up and aim. It reversed the entire tactical dynamic. German snipers who had spent months hunting American snipers were suddenly being hunted themselves. The psychological impact was measurable. German after-action reports from mid-November mentioned increased reluctance among sniper teams to engage American positions. They were losing the tactical confidence that comes from always shooting first. Captain Hayes recognized this shift immediately. In a November 14th briefing, he told the assembled sniper teams, "The Germans owned us for 3 months. They killed 23 of our best men. Now we own them. Keep the pressure on. Make them afraid to operate. Make them hesitate. Hesitation gets them killed." The aggressive new tactics worked. Between November 10th and November 20th, American sniper teams in Metz eliminated 37 German snipers with only 4 American losses. That was a 9-to-1 kill ratio. Unprecedented in urban combat where defenders traditionally held every advantage. The battalion's kill ratio shifted dramatically and measurably. In October, American snipers in Metz had lost 2 men for every German they eliminated, 2 American deaths for every German kill. Completely unsustainable attrition that was destroying American sniper capability. By mid-November, after the mirror modification spread through the unit, the ratio reversed completely. 4 German snipers killed for every American lost. 4-to-1 in American favor. The mirrors had fundamentally changed the tactical mathematics. Captain Robert Hayes commanded the battalion sniper platoon. Hayes was career Army, 12 years in service, had read every sniper manual and tactical doctrine publication, knew Army regulations by heart. On November 10th, he conducted a standard inspection of the sniper teams, checking equipment, verifying rifle 0, ensuring weapons were maintained to specification. He climbed up to Donovan's position in the ruined bakery, saw the mirror attached to the Springfield scope, stopped walking, stared at it for a long time without saying anything, then asked in a flat voice that revealed nothing, "What is that?" Donovan's stomach dropped. This was it. Caught. Court-martial. Everything he had feared since installing the first mirror was about to happen. Martinez spoke up before Donovan could formulate an answer, explained it was a mirror modification, helped snipers see flanking threats they couldn't detect through the scope, had saved their lives multiple times in the past week, was completely unauthorized, but was proven effective in actual combat. Hayes asked the critical question, "Who authorized this modification?" Martinez said honestly, "Nobody, sir. We did it ourselves. We know it's against regulations, but it works. It saves lives." Hayes examined the mirror closely, tested the mounting, looked through the scope, then glanced at the mirror to see what it showed, understood immediately what it did and why it mattered. He asked Donovan directly, "How many rifles have this modification installed?" Donovan said, "9 rifles, sir, including mine." Hayes looked at him for several long seconds, then said something Donovan never expected to hear from a by-the-book career officer. "By tomorrow morning, I want every single sniper rifle in this battalion to have one of these mirrors. That's a direct order. I'll handle the paperwork and authorization. You focus on keeping my men alive. Understood?" Donovan stood there stunned, barely able to process what Hayes had just said. Hayes had made the modification official, protected Donovan from court-martial charges. More than that, Hayes understood the mirrors were saving American lives, and he was willing to break regulations and risk his own career to save more lives. That night, Donovan worked faster than ever before. He recruited other snipers from the battalion, showed them how to install mirrors, taught them the proper positioning, the correct angle, the attachment methods. Some mirrors were mounted with electrical tape, others used wire. One creative sniper used leather straps salvaged from a gas mask. The specific methods varied, but the underlying principle stayed the same. Give snipers peripheral vision while looking through their scopes. By November 12th, 9 days after the first installation, every sniper in the battalion had a mirror modification. What had started as a desperate, unauthorized field improvisation was now standard equipment for every American sniper in Metz. German snipers noticed the change almost immediately. Intelligence reports captured later from November 1944 mentioned unusual American sniper behaviors. Americans were engaging German flanking positions they shouldn't have been able to see through their scopes, were counterattacking before German snipers could fire first, were somehow aware of threats completely outside their scope's field of view. German sniper commanders tried to adapt tactically. They started using longer-range positions, 600 to 800 yards instead of 400 yards, hoping increased distance would make mirror detection ineffective. But American snipers with mirrors could still detect movement and scope glint at those ranges. Distance didn't eliminate the mirror's effectiveness. Some German snipers tried attacking from multiple positions simultaneously, hoping to overwhelm American awareness with targets from several directions at once. But mirror-equipped American snipers working in coordinated pairs could cover all angles effectively. One sniper watched forward through the scope. The other watched the mirror continuously. Nothing got past them. By late November, German snipers in Metz were actively avoiding engagements with American sniper teams. The tactical advantage had shifted completely. Americans could see threats coming from any direction, could counterattack before German snipers fired, could survive engagements they absolutely should have lost based on previous patterns. The mirror modification never became officially sanctioned by the United States Army during World War II. A training inspector from theater headquarters noticed the mirrors in December 1944, wrote a detailed report. The report circulated through Army command structure for weeks, while officers debated how to handle the situation. On one hand, the modification clearly violated regulations about unauthorized changes to precision equipment. On the other hand, it was working. Sniper teams using mirrors had significantly better survival rates and dramatically higher kill ratios than teams without mirrors. In January 1945, an evaluation team from Aberdeen Proving Ground traveled to Metz. 3 officers, 2 civilian ballistics experts. They inspected the mirror modifications carefully, tested them extensively, interviewed dozens of snipers, measured the field of view improvement, calculated the tactical advantage. Their official conclusion: the mirrors provided significant survivability enhancement and should be integrated into sniper doctrine. But they wanted to redesign the entire system, use manufactured mirrors instead of salvaged materials, create standardized mounting brackets, turn the field improvisation into proper military equipment. The evaluation team wrote a formal recommendation, submitted it to Army Ordnance, suggested that all sniper rifles be fitted with peripheral vision mirrors as standard equipment, made it sound like they had discovered and developed the innovation. The evaluation had taken 3 full days of intensive testing. The team set up controlled experiments, measuring exactly how much additional peripheral vision the mirrors provided. They calculated that the mirror increased a sniper's effective field of awareness from 8 degrees to approximately 45 degrees, a 562% improvement in situational awareness. They interviewed 17 different snipers who had used the mirrors in combat. Every single interview told the same basic story. The mirrors had saved lives, had allowed snipers to detect threats they would never have seen otherwise, had fundamentally changed how American snipers operated in urban combat environments. Sergeant Wilson told them about 4 separate occasions when the mirror had saved his life. Specific dates, specific engagements, specific German snipers he had spotted using the mirror before they could fire. Private Martinez described the first engagement on November 3rd in extraordinary detail. How Donovan had spotted the German sniper in the mirror reflection, how they had executed a perfectly coordinated counterattack, how they had survived an ambush that absolutely should have killed them both. Staff Sergeant Coleman demonstrated his dual mirror setup, explaining in technical detail the tactical advantages of having peripheral coverage in 2 directions simultaneously. He walked them through multiple engagements where the mirrors had prevented his spotter from being killed, showed them exactly how the mirrors had changed 2-man sniper team tactics and coordination. The civilian ballistics experts were particularly interested in whether the mirrors affected rifle accuracy in any measurable way. They conducted precision tests using mirror-equipped rifles versus standard rifles at a controlled range. They measured group sizes at various distances, 200 yards, 400 yards, 600 yards, checked carefully for any shift in zero, verified that the additional weight didn't affect the rifle's balance, handling characteristics, or point of impact. Their technical conclusion: the mirrors had 0 measurable negative impact on rifle accuracy. The weight was negligible, 4 to 6 ounces depending on the mirror size. The mounting didn't shift or move under recoil. The modification didn't interfere with the weapon's mechanical operation in any way. If anything, snipers shot more accurately with mirrors because they felt more secure, less vulnerable, could concentrate better on the actual shot. One of the evaluation officers, Major William Thornton, was himself a former sniper. He had served in North Africa in 1943, understood the challenges of counter-sniper operations from direct personal experience. He had lost 2 partners to German snipers in Tunisia. He understood exactly what Donovan had accomplished. Thornton spent an entire evening talking with Donovan privately, away from the official evaluation process. He wanted to understand the thought process, the innovation, how a 22-year-old private first class had solved a problem that Army doctrine had never adequately addressed. Thornton asked Donovan what had made him think of using a mirror. Donovan explained everything, about Bradley dying, about Chen dying, about feeling completely helpless because he couldn't see threats outside his narrow scope field of view, about lying awake at night thinking obsessively about the problem, about looking at his shaving mirror one morning and suddenly realizing it could show him what his scope could not. Thornton asked if Donovan fully understood what he had actually accomplished. Donovan said he had saved some lives. That was all that mattered to him. That was all he had wanted to accomplish. Thornton told him the larger truth. You've changed sniper doctrine for every military in the world. The Germans will copy this modification once they capture one of our rifles with a mirror. The British will adopt it within months. The Russians will steal the concept. After the war, every professional army will study this modification. You've influenced how snipers will operate for the next 50 years minimum, maybe longer. Donovan hadn't thought about it in those terms. He had just been trying to keep Martinez alive, keep himself alive, stop watching his partners die from shots they never saw coming. Thornton tried to ensure Donovan's name would be in the official report. He specifically added an entire section to his portion of the evaluation, describing how a private first class had invented the modification without any official support or authorization. Explained in detail that Donovan had risked court-martial to save his fellow soldiers. Recommended that Donovan receive formal recognition for innovation under combat conditions. But Thornton's section was heavily edited before the final report went to Army Ordnance Headquarters. The language was changed by someone higher in the chain of command to say, "Field personnel developed," instead of naming Donovan specifically. The details about the unauthorized installation were completely removed, presumably because acknowledging that soldiers had violated regulations to save lives would be professionally embarrassing for the officers who had been enforcing those regulations without questioning whether they made sense. Private First Class Michael Donovan's name never appeared anywhere in their documentation. Neither did Martinez's name. Neither did Captain Hayes's name. The official record would show that Army evaluators had identified a sniper visibility problem and developed a mirror solution. The soldiers who actually invented and proved the modification were erased from the story. Captain Hayes tried desperately to correct this injustice. He wrote letters, submitted after-action reports, made absolutely certain that Donovan's name was in every single document that came from the battalion. But those reports got lost in layers of military bureaucracy. The evaluation team's sanitized version became the official history. Donovan learned about this in February 1945. An officer showed him the documentation, asked if he wanted to file a formal complaint about stolen credit. Donovan said no. He didn't care about recognition or credit, or having his name in official reports. He cared that snipers were surviving, that partners weren't dying from shots they never saw coming, that American soldiers were going home to their families instead of dying in French rubble. The war in Europe ended on May 8, 1945. Germany surrendered unconditionally. Donovan had survived 11 months of continuous combat, 47 confirmed kills. The mirror had saved his life at least 6 documented times, 6 separate occasions when he spotted German snipers trying to flank him. 6 times he eliminated them before they could fire. Private Sam Martinez survived the war too. 14 confirmed kills by VE Day. After the war, Martinez went back to Texas, became a police officer in Houston, worked patrol for 30 years. He kept a photograph of Donovan's rifle with the mirror modification on his desk for 3 decades. Every single year on November 3rd, the anniversary of that first engagement, Martinez called Donovan on the phone, thanked him for installing the mirror, told him he wouldn't have survived Metz without it. Those phone calls continued for 36 years without interruption. Every November 3rd, without fail, Martinez would call, and they would talk for an hour about Metz, about the men they had known, about the ones who didn't make it home. Martinez never forgot that first engagement, watching Donovan spot the German sniper in the mirror, realizing they were seconds away from death, executing the coordinated counterattack that saved both their lives. In 1976, Martinez was involved in a shooting incident as a Houston police officer. He and his partner were responding to an armed robbery call when they were ambushed by two suspects with rifles. Martinez's partner was focused on the suspect directly in front of them when Martinez caught movement in his peripheral vision, the second suspect trying to flank them from the side. Martinez immediately warned his partner. They repositioned before the second suspect could fire. Both suspects were arrested without anyone being shot. Later, when Martinez wrote his incident report, he credited his peripheral awareness training from World War II with saving his life and his partner's life. The mirror modification had taught him to always watch his flanks, to never focus exclusively on one threat, to maintain situational awareness, even in high-stress situations. Those lessons had transferred from sniper combat in 1944 to police work in 1976. Sergeant Frank Wilson also survived, 31 confirmed kills. The mirror saved his life 4 separate times during combat in France and Germany. He returned to Montana after the war, became a professional hunting guide again. Sometimes he would tell hunting clients about the mirror modification, about how a desperate sniper had figured out how to see threats he wasn't looking at, about how that simple trick had saved countless lives. One of Wilson's clients in 1958 was a writer for Outdoor Life magazine. The writer published an article about Wilson's guiding services. In the article, he mentioned Wilson's World War II service and briefly described the mirror modification. The article reached approximately 50,000 readers, outdoor enthusiasts, hunters, veterans interested in rifle shooting. 3 of those readers were Marine Corps snipers who had served in Korea. They wrote letters to Wilson asking for more details about the mirrors. Wilson sent them detailed descriptions, hand-drawn diagrams showing the mounting angle and position. 2 of those Marines later became sniper instructors at Camp Pendleton. They taught the mirror concept to their students, crediting it to an Army sniper in World War II, but without knowing Donovan's name. By the early 1960s, the concept had spread through the United States Marine Corps sniper community, passed from instructor to student, from veteran to active-duty Marine. Some Marines made improvised mirrors for their M1C and M1D sniper rifles during training. The modification was never officially authorized by Marine Corps headquarters, but it was widely used and quietly accepted by commanders who understood its practical value. During the Vietnam War, several American snipers used mirror modifications similar to Donovan's original 1944 design. Army sniper Carlos Hathcock, who would become one of the most famous snipers in American military history with 93 confirmed kills, experimented with mirrors in 1966 during his first tour in Vietnam. Hathcock ultimately decided not to use them permanently, preferring to work with a spotter who could actively watch his flanks. But he acknowledged in later interviews that the mirror concept was tactically sound and could save lives for snipers operating without spotters in independent missions. Staff Sergeant Richard Coleman, the sniper who had requested the dual mirror setup in November 1944, survived the war with 18 total confirmed kills. After the war, he went back to Ohio and returned to competitive target shooting. He won several national championships in the late 1940s and early 1950s, competing at Camp Perry and other major shooting competitions. In 1953, Coleman was invited to speak at a shooting clinic at Camp Perry. He talked about precision shooting techniques, wind reading, trigger control, and mental discipline. At the end of his presentation, someone in the audience asked him about his World War II sniper experience. Coleman told them about the mirror modification, about how it had saved his life and his spotter's life multiple times during combat. One of the attendees was a young Army lieutenant named Charles Henderson, who was preparing to deploy to Korea as a platoon leader. Henderson asked Coleman for detailed information about the mirrors after the clinic ended. Coleman spent 2 hours explaining the concept, drawing diagrams on notebook paper, explaining the tactical applications in different combat environments. Henderson never made it to Korea. The war ended before his unit deployed. But he remembered that conversation. Years later, after retiring from the military, Henderson became a writer specializing in military history. In 1986, he published a book about Marine Corps snipers in Vietnam. In the book, he included a brief section about improvised mirror modifications, tracing the concept back to World War II, but not knowing the original inventor's name or specific details about how it started. Michael Donovan stayed in the United States Army until 1946, then went home to Pennsylvania, worked in a steel factory for 35 years, the same job he had worked before the war. He married in 1947, had 3 children, lived quietly, never talked much about the war except in the most general terms. When people asked about his military service, he would say he had been a sniper. That was all. He didn't mention the mirror modification. Didn't mention saving dozens of snipers' lives. Didn't mention changing how American snipers fought for the rest of the war and beyond. It wasn't modesty. He genuinely didn't think it mattered anymore. The war was over. The mirrors had done their job. Men had survived who might have died. That was enough. By the 1960s, the mirror modification had been mostly forgotten. New sniper scopes had improved optics. Some later models had integrated peripheral vision indicators. But nobody in the military remembered that the fundamental concept had started with a piece of shaving mirror taped to a Springfield rifle in Metz, France, in November 1944. The official United States Army history of sniper operations never mentioned Michael Donovan. The training manuals credited improved optics and better tactics for increased sniper survivability. Donovan's contribution had been completely erased, not intentionally, just through normal bureaucratic processes. Field modifications weren't considered historically significant. Official developments were what mattered for the historical record. In 1987, a military historian researching sniper innovations accidentally found references to improvised mirrors. In November 1944, maintenance logs from the Fifth Infantry Division. The logs mentioned Private First Class Donovan, but provided no other details. The historian spent 8 months tracking down veterans from that unit. Found Martinez still alive in Houston. Martinez told him everything. About Bradley dying, about Chen dying, about Donovan installing the mirror, about how it spread through the entire battalion, about how it fundamentally changed sniper combat, about how many lives it saved. The historian eventually found Donovan through veteran registries. Donovan was 67 years old in 1987, still living in Pennsylvania, still working occasionally despite his age. The historian asked if he had really installed the mirrors on sniper rifles. Donovan said yes, he had. The historian asked why he thought anyone would care about something that happened 43 years ago. The historian explained that based on survival rate improvements in units that used mirrors versus units that didn't, the modification had probably saved between 40 and 60 American sniper lives between November 1944 and May 1945. Donovan said he had never counted lives saved. He just remembered Martinez and Wilson and the others who came back alive. That was enough for him. The historian published his findings in 1989. Small article in a military history journal, maybe 15 pages. Described the mirror modification in technical detail. Credited Donovan with the invention. Included extensive interviews with Martinez and Wilson. The article reached approximately 1,500 readers, mostly academics, military historians, veterans, and history enthusiasts. Donovan received 4 letters after the article was published, all from snipers or their families. One letter from a sniper who had used the mirror modification in Germany in 1945. Said it saved his life twice. Wanted to thank Donovan personally. One letter from a widow whose husband had been a sniper in Metz. She had never known about the mirrors. Learning about them 40 years later gave her some measure of comfort, knowing that someone had tried to keep her husband alive, even if he had ultimately died anyway. Captain Robert Hayes visited Donovan in 1992. They hadn't seen each other in 45 years. They talked for 6 hours about Metz, about the snipers they had lost. about the ones they had managed to save. Hayes said he had tried for years to get Donovan officially recognized. Written letters to the Army, filed reports, submitted recommendations for commendations. Nobody in the military bureaucracy had cared. Too much time had passed. The war was ancient history. There was no appetite for digging up old stories about unauthorized field modifications. Donovan told Hayes he didn't need official recognition. He had Martinez alive, had Wilson alive, had 40 other snipers alive who might have died. That was recognition enough. That was all that mattered. Michael Donovan died on June 7, 2001, at age 79. His obituary in the local Pennsylvania newspaper mentioned his service in World War II as a sniper, did not mention the mirror modification, did not mention that he had saved dozens of lives with a 50-cent piece of reflective glass and electrical tape, did not mention that he had changed American sniper doctrine with an unauthorized field improvisation. His funeral was small, family members, a few friends from the factory where he had worked. 4 men that Donovan's family didn't recognize attended. They introduced themselves after the service. All 4 were snipers. Men whose lives had been saved by the mirror modification. They had read about Donovan's death in veterans' newsletters, wanted to pay respects, wanted Donovan's family to know exactly what he had done. Donovan's children learned the full story that day at their father's funeral. Learned he had installed mirrors on sniper rifles without authorization. Learned those mirrors had saved lives. Learned he had risked court-martial to protect soldiers he barely knew. Learned he had never talked about it because he genuinely didn't think it mattered. Today, Michael Donovan's story exists in fragments scattered through military archives, maintenance logs in the National Archives, interview transcripts, a paragraph in an obscure book about sniper modifications. Most people who study World War II snipers have never heard his name. But if you visit the National Infantry Museum at Fort Benning, you can see an M1903 Springfield rifle from World War II displayed in a glass case. Mounted on the left side of the scope is a small rectangular mirror, 4 inches by 6 inches. Metal frame, crude tape mounting clearly visible. It's labeled simply as Field Modification Common in late 1944. No name attached. No mention of Private First Class Michael Donovan. No explanation of how many lives it saved or how it changed sniper doctrine. The museum display includes a brief description card. During World War II, American snipers developed improvised modifications to increase situational awareness. This mirror attachment provided peripheral vision while maintaining scope focus. Field modifications like this demonstrated soldier innovation under combat conditions. 150 words. That's what 7 decades of military history reduced Donovan's innovation to. 150 generic words that could apply to any modification by any soldier in any war. In 2015, a group of military history enthusiasts started a project to identify and properly credit World War II innovations that had been attributed to unknown soldiers or field personnel in official records. They found Martinez's 1989 interview with the military historian, found Wilson's letters to the Marines in 1958, found Captain Hayes' after-action reports that had been filed away and forgotten for 70 years. They assembled a complete documentary history of the mirror modification, traced it from Donovan's first installation on November 2, 1944, through its spread across the Fifth Infantry Division, through its adoption by other units, through its influence on post-war sniper doctrine. They petitioned the National Infantry Museum to update the display card with Donovan's name and accurate historical information. The museum updated the card in 2017. It now reads, Private First Class Michael Donovan, 5th Infantry Division, developed this mirror modification in November 1944 to provide peripheral vision during sniper operations. The innovation saved an estimated 40 to 60 American lives and influenced sniper doctrine worldwide. That updated display card is Michael Donovan's only official recognition. No medals, no commendations, no formal acknowledgement from the United States Army. Just an updated museum card that most visitors walk past without reading. That mirror is Donovan's real legacy. Not the official one that was stolen by bureaucrats and evaluators. The real legacy. The one that mattered to Martinez and Wilson and Sullivan and Coleman and 40 other snipers who survived Metz and the rest of World War II, because one desperate 22-year-old soldier broke regulations to save his partners. Modern military sniper scopes have integrated peripheral vision systems, digital cameras, wide-angle optics, augmented reality displays that show threats outside the main field of view. But the fundamental concept traces directly back to Donovan's shaving mirror taped to a Springfield rifle in a destroyed bakery in Metz, France. Military historians who study the evolution of sniper tactics identify November 1944 as a turning point, when American snipers shifted from being reactive to proactive, from being hunted to being hunters, from accepting high casualty rates to developing innovations that gave them tactical advantages. And it all started with a 4x6-inch mirror and electrical tape. That's how innovation actually happens in war. Not through committees and training manuals and official procurement processes, through soldiers who see problems and fix them with whatever materials they can find. Soldiers who don't wait for authorization when their friends are dying. Soldiers who risk everything because watching people die is worse than any punishment the army could impose. Michael Donovan installed that first mirror to save Martinez. That mirror ended up saving dozens of soldiers, changed how American snipers fought, influenced sniper doctrine that's still taught today, and almost nobody remembers his name. But you do now. You know the real story. You know what actually happened in Metz in November 1944. If this story moved you the way it moved us, hit that like button right now. Every single like helps us rescue more forgotten stories from dusty archives and share them with people who understand that history matters. Subscribe to this channel and become part of our community of history keepers. These stories don't preserve themselves. They need people like you who understand that real heroes weren't always the ones with medals and official recognition. Sometimes they were snipers with shaving mirrors and the courage to break regulations when regulations were getting people killed. Drop a comment right now. Tell us where you're watching from. Our audience stretches from New York to Tokyo, from Berlin to Sydney, from museum curators to grandchildren of World War II veterans, from active-duty snipers who still use variants of this concept to history teachers who want their students to know the truth. You're not just watching a video, you're part of keeping these memories alive. You're ensuring that soldiers like Michael Donovan don't fade into silence. You're honoring men who saved lives and never asked for recognition. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this story. Thank you for caring about history that textbooks ignore. And thank you for making absolutely certain that Private First Class Michael Donovan's legacy lives on. 22-year-old sniper with a shaving mirror and electrical tape changed warfare, saved dozens of lives, influenced tactics that are still used today, and nobody knew his name until now. Remember him, share his story, make sure he's never forgotten, because he deserves that, and so do the soldiers he saved.